To win or not to win? That is the question. Should the Titans be tanking for the rest of this season? Should we want them as fans to be tanking for the rest of the season? What's the benefit of winning a few games? Should we be rooting for that? The Titans now hold sole possession of the worst record in the NFL, and that therefore the number one overall draft pick if the draft were to start tomorrow. So we're going to talk about the benefits and drawbacks of winning and losing for the rest of this season. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast, presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. Justin, it feels oddly like it's been forever since we did a podcast together. We just took one Sunday off. How's it going?
I mean, yeah, we had a full episode on Thursday that was an hour long that the people are loving, according to the comments. Like you said, we only took Sunday off technically, and we didn't take it off. The Titans took it off for their bye week. So naturally, we did not have an immediate reaction to that. But we're back here on Monday, and things changed over the weekend. In fact, you and I were supposed to do this episode last Thursday. We called an audible on the Music City Audible to do the Mike Borgonzi episode, and I'm so glad we did. Don't you love when things work out? Because now that so much changed on Sunday, I think it's a more appropriate time to have this discussion. If you were living under a rock or took an emotional break from football because the Titans have broken your soul and you were glad to not have to watch it for a weekend, the New York Jets and the New Orleans Saints both won, propelling the Titans to number one overall in the current NFL draft order. You know, live standings that gets updated every week, obviously. Titans did not. This is the best Sunday the Titans have had this year. They did nothing on Sunday, and they move up from number 3 to number 1, entering week 11. This is the latter stages of the season. I mean, maybe latter I'm using a little loosely, but we are getting down to the nitty-gritty, and the Titans are at number 1.
Yeah, you know, Justin, it's funny because we actually were getting tweets from people saying, because we always do our live Sunday show reacting to the Titans game, and there was no Titans game, as you said. We didn't do a live reaction Sunday show. People were like, you guys need to go live and talk about the fact that the Titans now possess the number 1 pick. And like we saw those comments. I mean, when we're not planning to go live and you're covering football, I'm covering football, it's not like we're not working on Sunday where we're just sitting around and can hop on and do a podcast. So when we're not planning it in advance, it's pretty tough for us. Plus, we knew we had this topic in our back pocket. But yeah, like you said, everything worked out great. What better time to have this conversation than right after the Titans do secure that number 1 pick? So they have, I mean, sorry.
I know I'm being, secure is a strong word.
I caught myself as you caught me. Yeah, secured. As the Titans have taken possession for the current moment in time of that sole number 1 pick. There's no tiebreaker. The Titans are the only team in the NFL with 1 win. They're the only team. Every other team in the NFL has at least 2 wins, which is just, I mean, what a wild time to be alive, right? But as Titans fans, it means we sort of have this conversation because, look, nobody wants to be the team that gets the number 1 pick 2 years in a row. Like, that is a true disaster situation for your franchise to be in. It's happened, 6 times in NFL history in the Super Bowl era, I believe. That might be inaccurate. Let us know in the comments how many times you think it's happened in NFL history. But the fact of the matter is, the quickest way to a rebuild is to get these top picks and use them well and trade them well if you need to. Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker went to the podium when Borgonzi was hired, and I think it was actually Chad Brinker who expressed their desire to have, 12 picks in the top 100 and 30 picks over the next 3 years, something like that. And getting the number 1 pick really positions them to be in a situation where they don't need a quarterback. There might be 2, there might be more, but at least right now, it's still November, a lot can change. It looks like there are 2 quarterbacks that could be worth potentially taking number 1 overall or trading up for. There's multiple edge rushers that are gaining a lot of buzz. There's even a couple wide receivers who maybe aren't like top 3 picks, but could easily be top 10 picks. This is all setting itself up so perfectly for number 1, what the Titans need, which is that premier edge rusher and that premier playmaker at wide receiver. They need both of those things. and they could get the number 1 pick when they don't need a quarterback, while there are quarterbacks that other teams might be coveting. And if the Titans end up with that number 1 pick, whoever's picking third might want to jump whoever's picking second to come get the quarterback of their choice. Or the Browns, who have shown to be, pretty aggressively tanking themselves this year, currently hold the number 4 pick and the number 19 pick because they get Jacksonville's pick for the Travis Hunter trade. So could Cleveland be a team that wants to trade both of those first rounders for the number 1 pick? And then the Titans can take their edge at 4 and their receiver at 19, or whomever. There's going to be suitors, the Raiders, the Jets, if they don't decide to push it till 2027. The Saints, if Tyler Shough doesn't turn out to actually be good. He looked pretty good yesterday, so we'll see how. Tyler Shough could beat the Titans week 17. That could happen now. But there's going to be teams that want that pick. So it begs the question: as a Titans fan, should we just give up on the rest of the season, have a miserable next 8 weeks, and just root for the team to lose every game they play the rest of the season? It's no fun, but for the long-term vision of the team, it's better. But does that make you a bad fan? Philosophically, Justin, where do you come down on all this?
I'm going to delay my answer to the question because I want to talk a little about the situation first. They're currently at number 1, as you said. Shout out to the Jets and the Saints. The Jets winning that game yesterday, by the way, against the Browns, 27-20. The Cleveland Browns in the last, I wrote a story on this, a very short one, but I don't think it's published yet. 75 years, okay? Teams were 225-0 when not committing a turnover and holding the other team under like 175 yards of offense. Cleveland Browns became the first team to lose in that situation yesterday since 1950 in that game to the Jets. Why? Because the Jets returned 2 touchdowns, right? One kickoff, 99-yard kickoff and like 75-yard punt. Dylan Gabriel, the Browns quarterback, had 2 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions. Justin Fields had 54 passing yards for the Jets. 42 of them were on a Breece Hall touchdown that he caught behind the line of scrimmage on a screen and ran it all the way. Can't believe the Jets won that game. Shout out to the Saints and Tyler Shough as well. Bryce Young was awful in that game. I think that's the primary reason why the Saints won. But the Titans are, because of that, they're at number 1. And when I look at this draft, it's obviously very early. But I'm getting pretty close to being very comfortable to predicting that quarterbacks are going to go 1-2. Like Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson, I just feel like they're gaining traction every single week. Like if you watched LSU Alabama over the weekend, Ty Simpson's numbers don't jump out at you, but he was really good in that game. And he's getting some critical acclaim for the performance. Like I think it was ESPN's Jordan Reed tweeted out a phenomenal compilation of him like changing calls at the line of scrimmage, adjusting protections, checking them in and out of plays. Like he's just playing at high-level quarterback, pre-snap quarterback play, and post-snap because he's great diagnosing, throwing the football. For a guy who's a first-year starter, like teams are going to sell themselves on Ty Simpson. And Fernando Mendoza, I don't think he was great in that Penn State game, but he did lead the game-winning drive and made a really gutsy throw to win it near the end. I think that's probably what we'll remember most from that game. I think quarterbacks are going 1-2. You look at the way this draft is set up, you briefly touched on it, like the Jets and Saints, obviously the 2 contenders for the number 1 pick. The Jets are no-brainer contenders to take a quarterback. I still think the Saints are leaning that way, though you're right, they do got to sort of complete the Tyler Shough evaluation the rest of this year. But there are so many other teams that might want to trade up. Like you mentioned, the Cleveland Browns. I mean, they're an obvious one, of course. Remember, them and the Jets have a bunch of draft capital. Remember the trade down to Travis Hunter you mentioned, and then the Jets with the Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams deals. Like both of them are setting themselves up to be able to trade up in case they need to, in my opinion. You briefly mentioned the Raiders. They're a good one. But in my opinion, there are a bunch of others. I think the Miami Dolphins are underrated candidates based on what's going on there with firing the GM. We'll see what happens with Tua. I don't think the Panthers would do something like that again, but I think they're in the market to replace Bryce Young. The Arizona Cardinals are underrated candidates with the whole Kyler Murray fiasco. Yeah. Like there are so many QB needy teams this year. If the Titans
the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers is on a 1-year contract.
Yeah, I don't know that they're going to have enough, pick early enough to make the move all the way up. I don't think so. But they're going to be in the QB market. You're right that they're in the market, but I don't think they're candidates to move up to number one. But there are going to be a bunch of top, like the Jets. If the Titans picked one, the Jets and Saints are no-brainers. The Browns are a no-brainer. The Raiders are going to be in that top 10. The Dolphins might be in that top 10. I think, most likely. And the Cardinals are probably not going to be far off it, or they might be in that top 10. So if the Titans do get this number one pick, I think it's a no-brainer that they're trading it. No-brainer. Like 98% chance they are trading that pick if they get it.
There's basically no other way to do what Mike Borgonzi and Chad Breaker want to do. Like, there's basically no other way to get the amount of picks that they want, short of trading Jeffrey Simmons in March, which that's not going to happen. Like, take that off your bingo card. It is, they have, like, we can rule that out based on what Borgonzi said at the podium last week. So that's the only other way. I mean, you're not going to be able to, like, I've been talking about the value of having day 3 picks and packaging them together to move up in the draft. And, like, yeah, you might be able to go from the 5th round to the 4th round, or maybe the 4th round to the 3rd round. But even that's a bit of a stretch. Like, it gives you that flexibility to move around the draft on day 3 and maybe a little bit on day 2. It doesn't give you the flexibility to get 12 top 100 picks. So the only way to get 12 top 100 picks is to trade down. Now, they will have, if they get the first overall pick, and they get that first overall pick without a tie, which the way it's currently, if you looked at the order right now, they will also have the top pick of the second round, which they had the 3rd pick of the second round last year because there was a tiebreaker that got them into the number 1 overall pick. But they used that pick to trade down and get another top 100 pick. So they could target that route as well. But I think, like, obviously the biggest value and the smartest way to do it is to move out of that number 1 pick. So we've had that conversation. I think we don't need to continue that part of it. I just remember 2016, Justin, when John Robinson moved number 1 for number 15 and a whole bunch of other picks, and how exciting that was. The 2017 draft when the Titans had 2 first-rounders. Now, unfortunately, Corey Davis and Adoree Jackson, they were solid players for the Titans. Did they live up to first-round status? Corey Davis lived up to number 5 overall status. That's the other side of trading draft picks away, is that you got to nail the picks that you make with those that you trade away or that you get in a trade. So that's the big side of it. But, like, I think every Titans fan can agree that the best course of action for this team, if we could just fast forward to January and not have to live through the next 8 weeks, that getting the number 1 pick is the fastest way to rebuild the team. But does that make it the best fan experience?
I've delayed my answer long enough. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Before the trade deadline and before what happened on Sunday with them moving up to number 1, I was pretty strongly leaning towards, just root for wins. Like, whatever, man. Like, they've got their quarterback. You don't need to pick number 1. Like, just root for wins. I'm tired of losing, and it would be good for Cam Ward to win football games. Like, I was leaning heavily. Not even leaning. I was full-blown win games. Root for Titans wins on Sundays. Now, I'm not saying that I'm ready to go the full other way, but I'm getting pretty close. Like, for me, when I saw what happened, and it started with the trade deadline for me, okay? It wasn't even the unlikely Jets and Saints victories on Sunday. When I saw the Jets move those move those players, Sauce Gardner and Quinn Williams, for all those picks, I immediately, if the Titans pick number 1, the Jets are coming to get a quarterback. They don't even let Justin Fields throw the ball. They're coming to get a quarterback.
Well, let me just stop you right there, only to say that they're, like, people around the Jets, like the beat writers that cover that team, really seem to think that they would rather wait until 2027. I don't know if that changes anything for the Titans, because there's, like we said, there's plenty of other QB needy teams that have draft capital that have ammo to move up, but that is just something to, like, keep in the back of your mind. Like, would the Jets...
It's a possibility, because they've got 3 first-round picks in 2027, which is outrageous. Good for them. That's outrageous. And look, the thing is, you could get into the Titans conversation, right? Like, a lot of people... why a lot of people are saying that, too, by the way? They're saying the 2027 quarterback class looks so good. We'll see, right? Like, it's way too early to say. Like, it might have Arch Manning. A couple of, like... You want to laugh? Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza, I think they're both declaring they have eligibility. Like, they can enter 2027. Dante Moore, who would
Dante
be
Moore, I was going to say,
in this class, has eligibility, and there's already been reports. I'm not comfortable running with them. I think it was Todd McShay, who of course I trust, but I don't think Dante Moore's made up his mind yet. But the rumblings are already out there that he's going to go back to school. I think Arch Manning, I mentioned. I think DJ Legway. Not that I'm expecting a lot from him, to be honest, but there are a bunch of guys, right? The Ohio State quarterback, I believe, becomes eligible in 2027. Notre Dame, I think. So a couple, it could be a loaded quarterback class, but you never know what's going to, they got 3 firsts, but you don't know where they're going to be. You don't know where you'll be picking. Like, if they have an opportunity to get Ty Simpson or Fernando Mendoza, I think they'll probably do it. But yeah, if it's it's going to cost them a lot through a trade up, that's where they might say, hey, we can wait this out. Let's not give all up this capital that we've acquired and wait it out. But it's not just the Jets. And when I was going to finish there and say, the trade deadline, that made me think of the Jets, all those picks. But I also think of the Cleveland Browns, too, because they've got a bunch of picks as well due to the Travis Hunter deal with Jacksonville. So after that trade deadline happened, and I started thinking about those 2 teams and all their picks, and then after Sunday happened and the Titans actually moved up to number 1, I started rethinking this. So I'm like, man, maybe, they're going to get a king's ransom of picks from someone. If they get the number 1 pick, there's no way no one's not trading up for one of those quarterbacks. So to me, you already got guys. I respect that. Corey Kinnan, who I respect, said both of them are better than Cam Ward. I mean, I don't think I agree with that.
I actually had an idea for an offseason when we get to draft season. Sorry to completely derail this part, but when we get to draft season, you're going to be watching all the quarterbacks, right? I'll watch the quarterbacks just for the hell of it.
Yeah, I've already watched quite a bit.
We should do an episode just for our audience. We did the Titans make a mistake not waiting to take their quarterback this year when they have the number 1 pick again, potentially. We should just compare and contrast from a scouting standpoint, not from a what Cam Ward did in his first year in the league standpoint. Right. I just think that'd be interesting. Let us know in the comments if you would like an episode like that. And if not, then we won't do it. Because
there's going to be a lot of, tomfoolery out there talking about should the Titans trade Cam Ward and take one of these quarterbacks if they get the number 1 pick. But anyway, my point is I'm confident that these guys will be popular enough. Someone's going to trade up for them. So my final answer is going to be really boring, right, on what the Titans should do. Just let the chips fall where they may, what you root for is not going to dictate what happens on Sunday. I don't think because the Titans have the quarterback, I don't know that I can go full blown. They should absolutely tank and lose all the football game. Last year, you and I were both it would be great to get the number 1 pick. They need a quarterback or they need to trade, whatever. It would be great. Now, the sense of urgency, in my opinion, it's never quite as strong. The Jets should be mad about winning that game. Jets fans. Saints fans should be what the heck? We need a quarterback. You don't think so?
Well, here's what I'll say. Number 1, the Jets have so much ammo that, there's 15 sides. There's 15 sides of this. So I have 3 big points I want to make. Number 1, just because you get the higher pick doesn't always mean you take the better player. I think, it's still early in everyone's careers.
Sure, but you want the choice.
But if we're evaluating the 2024 quarterback class today, we're all going to say the 3rd guy taken is the best guy in that class, right? Drake May, right now, looks better than Caleb Winston does. And it's still early to say. That's caveat number 1 is that sometimes you can get a blessing in disguise by getting not the higher pick. Number 2, for the Titans, it's different because the Titans want to trade the pick. So they the higher their pick is, the more return you're going to get for trading it. So it's different for the Jets than it is for the Titans if the Jets want to actually use that pick. Anyway, the second point is that they have so much ammo that they can make it work wherever they end up picking. And the third point that goes along with those 2, that is the reason ultimately that it may be a good thing for both of these teams. Both of these teams are in the first year of their new regime with a new head coach who is attempting to establish some semblance of a winning culture, a winning foundation. The Jets have won 2 games in a row. Even if they lose every game the rest of the season, they can point back to this stretch and say, we did some things right here. This is where we're aiming to get next year. That culture in the building. And this is what I want to talk about with the Titans here. that culture in the building, I think, especially when you already have your new head coach, the Titans don't have that guy yet, right? But Kellen Moore and Aaron Glenn, like, they were big time candidates. The last hiring cycle doesn't always mean anything. And I believe that the ownership and the management in those teams believes in these guys long term. Woody Johnson expressed a ton of confidence in Aaron Glenn like 2 or 3 weeks ago and blamed quarterback play for the reason they're struggling, right? So I think that winning is like not winning out, not ending up with like a middle of the road record that takes you out of the top 10 in the draft, but winning a few games here and there for those teams is a little more important than it is for the Titans, because the Titans don't have that head coach who's trying to establish his, culture. Now, at the same time, I think the other side of this conversation, like, we all understand the benefits of losing out and the Titans getting the number 1 pick. Every fan listening to this, you and I, every media person that covers Titans, it's obvious. The benefits of losing and tanking and getting that number 1 pick, like, we all understand that. The side that I think is a little more fuzzy and that maybe you and I should spend more time discussing here for the rest of this show is, what are the benefits of winning? Like for the players in the locker room, obviously the downside is your draft order changes, your draft pick changes, it gets worse, and you may not be able to trade it for as big of a haul. But are there benefits to the winning side? Is that a conversation we should have?
Well, I think would be good for Cam Ward, and I think that's straightforward, right? Like, it's good for Cam Ward to win and be happy after Sunday, and the narrative, of course, when they're losing, it hasn't been great around Cam Ward, but I don't know that it's going to dictate. Like, I just don't want people to think that if Cam Ward loses all the rest of the games, Titans get the number 1 pick, like, it's doom and gloom. Like, oh, he didn't learn how to win as a rookie because they didn't win 2 or 3 more games. They can't win, right? Like, the Bengals lost all throughout Joe Burrow's rookie season, and I know they're losing right now, but they came back from that and won with Joe Burrow, right? Like, Caleb Williams didn't do a lot of winning last year as a rookie. The Bears are winning right now. And I feel like I just had another name on myself. The list goes on and on. I mean, hell, Trevor Lawrence, like Jacksonville, you talked about, they were one of those teams that had back-to-back number 1 picks, right? They took Lawrence. They were awful. Then they took Trayvon Walker. They've done a fair amount of winning since then, right? Like, it's not all doom and gloom if they don't win this year. Like, they could hire a good head coach this offseason, which, God willing, they will, and win next year, even if they don't beat the Texans in week 11 this year. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't guarantee your fate, and that should be obvious, but I don't know that it always is. So yes, I think I do agree. It'd be silly to disagree that it's good for Cam Ward to win football games. That's why I said, as a Titans fan, I think my mantra is going to be, let the chips fall where they may. Like, if they lose, you kind of know, okay, this is good for their draft positioning. But if they win, I'm going to enjoy it and not be cursing at the television like, oh, because to me, again, it's different from last year. It was more important to lose last year than I think it is this year. I think we can say that while still acknowledging there's potential benefits to losing. But I'm going to be happy for Cam Ward as a rookie quarterback and as a fan if they go out and fluke off a win.
Yeah, I think, like, ultimately you're right to say all that, but at the same time, like, Caleb Williams didn't do a lot of winning, but he didn't go 1-17
right,
or 1-16, whatever the stupid new schedule. Still new to me, even though it's not new anymore. Like, they won more than one game, and the one game the Titans won was like the Cardinals were so bad.
Yeah, Ward got to have his moment, right? Like, he led the game-winning drives, like he did what he had to do.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I do think, like, it's not just about Cam Ward, though. Like, the entire rookie class that have all been putting in so much work behind the scenes, early mornings, like studying together, doing the extra work. Like, I think that it would be nice to have that rewarded with a win, where it's like just a proof of concept that you are doing something correct. You are on the right path to building this foundation, to building this winning culture. And I do think there's a limit to how many wins you get before it's diminishing returns. Like, if the Titans win one more game, they still have a pretty good chance to end up with the top pick, even if they win one more game. Yep. And that one more win could be the thing that motivates or reinforces good habits.
Not to push back on you, but you said Caleb Williams didn't go 1-16. I don't think he went 2-15 either, right? Like, I don't know how much better or how much different. Like, they probably got to win at least 2 more games to feel anything. And even then, I mean, 3-14 is a hell of a place to be. Just ask Titans fans from last year, right? Like, I don't know how much better it feels. I think, I don't know if you're ready to, I mean, we're not going to conclude this episode yet, but we're probably getting down to the close to the end. But I think for me, is it weird to say? Because as a Titans fan, you don't feel like it. You haven't felt this way in a long time. But are you actually in a win-win situation? Like, if they lose, are you just like, I mean, closer to getting that number 1 pick, that could really accelerate the rebuild? Because that is a scientific fact, ladies and gentlemen. Trading that number 1 pick, it's science to me. It can accelerate the rebuild. But if they win, can you be like, hey, I'm happy for Cam Ward. I'm happy for the rookie class. It's good that they're going out and winning. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think that's how I feel. I don't think I'll be complaining about the results going forward.
I think you are looking at that in the most sane way that will not ruin your Sundays on a week-to-week basis.
And in fact, could make you mad when they get an illegal formation penalty after picking up a first down, and Jalen Armour-Davis is going to be in position for a pass breakup, but some receiver I've never heard of is going to moss him instead. Like, I'm still going to be mad in the moment when these things happen. I can't help myself. But
don't be ridiculous, Melo. There's no receivers you've never heard of. Come on, you know the league as well as anyone.
That's true. I've interviewed them all for the most part.
But no, I think that's the best way to like enjoy every Sunday is like, let's look for progress on the field. Let's pray to every football god in existence that Cam Ward can throw for more than 1 touchdown in a game this season before it's all said and done. And give me 1 multi-touchdown game. That's all I'm begging for at this point. And know that whatever happens is good for the team, like you said. Now, I did want to talk about, before we change topics, the actual odds that the Titans end up with the number 1 pick. Because as we have talked about a few times on this show now, the New Orleans Saints play the New York Jets in Week 16. That game is at the New Orleans Saints. And then the New Orleans Saints travel to Tennessee the Week 17. So those 2 weeks are still going to be what ultimately decides this. And now, because the Jets and Saints won games and the Browns lost another game, the Browns have moved ahead of the Jets in terms of like odds to get the number 1 pick. And they are a 2-win team. And the Titans play at Cleveland Week 14. So there are multiple instances on the schedule coming up where things can change. You know, where like 1 game can flip this. If the Titans beat the Browns, the Titans will have 2 wins. If the Browns, assuming they haven't won another game by that point, the Browns will have 2 wins. And the Titans will have a head-to-head tiebreaker that puts them in a lower draft position than the Browns. So, like, there are specific games on the schedule, the most winnable games, Browns and Saints, that you'd really like to lose for the sake of draft capital. And that's sort of where this conversation turns into like, is it a win-win to beat the Browns and beat the Saints? And it like, not only do you get a win and change your draft position, you get a win against the team you're directly competing with for draft position. It makes it a lot harder to pick ahead of them. So those are just like, that's what we have to weigh as fans. I think even with that said, you're right to say, well, number 1, this is obvious, but what we root for isn't going to change the outcome, right? And number 2, winning isn't always necessarily bad, even for a team that's lost, because I do think it can like just give Cam Ward and those rookies some sort of reassurance that like we're doing this the right way, we're close, we just need to get a better coach in here and some more talent. But anyway, the projection. This is the Pro Football Network projection. We talked about this a couple of Wednesdays ago when we talked about the Titans' odds to secure the number 1 pick. When we talked about it back then, the Titans had a 23% chance to get the number 1 pick 2 weeks ago. They were behind the Jets, who were at 25%. So there's two percentage points separating the Jets at number 1, the Titans at number 2 at 23%, the Saints at number 3, 21.6%. And then the next team was at 6.6%. So those 3 teams at the top were really clustered together, separated by less than 4 total percentage points from 3 to 1. And now, 2 weeks later, things have really changed. The Titans go from 23% to 28.3%. So the amount that they jumped, 5.3 percentage points, is bigger than the gap from 1 to 3 was 2 weeks ago. The next closest team is the Saints, and the gap from the Titans to the Saints, there's no more cluster at the top. it goes from 28.3% Titans to 16.3% Saints,
Wow.
a 12 percentage points gap. That's 3 times the gap from 1 to 3 2 weeks ago. The Titans have, by not playing and by watching the Saints and the Jets go win games, the Titans have really increased their odds to get the number 1 pick. So I think that that's great. That's great for Titans fans. It's great for the future of the team. The Jets actually fall all the way to number 5 in terms of the Pro Football Network projection here. The Browns are 3rd. The Giants are 4th. So this is a very interesting place to be because the Giants are another one of these teams that we haven't really talked about as a threat to get the number 1 pick. But again, if the Titans beat the Browns and the Saints somehow, then suddenly the Giants could be the team positioned to get the number 1 pick, right? So there's really 5 teams in the mix: Titans, Saints, Browns, Jets, Giants. And I guess the Raiders are also a 2-win team. There's 6 teams with 2 wins or less right now. Titans have the best odds to get the number 1 pick, but of course, are they going to be better? Are they going to be a better team coming out of the bye? That's another question.
I mean, that's a huge gap between them and number 2, but it's worth remembering and reminding that things changed drastically for a reason. Like, they go out and win a game this weekend, next weekend, whatever. That number is going to change drastically again, right? So the results are going to drive this forward. So we'll see what the Titans do on Sunday. We'll see what the Browns and the Jets and the Saints keep doing. But for now, I mean, Titans won on the bye week. You could pretty much say that. They won their 2nd game of the year, and they won it on the bye week because that is a huge increase in their odds to get the number 1 pick.
A couple of quick news items we're going to cover before we say goodbye today. First of all, the Titans have opened the window to return for Mike Brown and Khalil Mullings off of IR, so we might finally get to see Khalil Mullings play football for the Titans. That'd be cool. And Mike McCoy said Monday that Jeffrey Simmons and Calvin Ridley are doing everything they can do to get back to work. Right. Something that Mike Borgonzi said last week on his OTP appearance was that he pretty much said, he didn't say this directly, but he pretty much said that they traded Draymond Jones because they were going to get Arden Key back after the bye, or at least that they had not because they were going to get Arden, but they knew they would get Arden Key back, and that the depth wouldn't necessarily be that drastically different if they traded Jones. So we should see Arden Key this weekend. That's if Simmons and Ridley and Key play, that's big talent added to the roster. The Titans might actually be a little bit better than they were.
They had those guys for all of last year, and they've had them for most of this year, right?
That's fair.
So I'm not going to sit here and say, wow, they're going to go out and win a game because they got guys that they've been 4-25 with or whatever.
But they haven't had those guys under non-Brian Callahan.
That's true. And Mike McCoy's been so damn impressive. I can't wait to see what he does with those guys. The last bit of news that I think we're going to cover is that the New York Giants fired Brian Daboll this morning. Yeah. I mean, that was a little surprising to me. Jackson Dart got hurt again, which we talked about last week, a little bit about the Jackson Dart Cam Ward conversation, another concussion protocol thing.
His 4th time being evaluated for a concussion since the preseason. He's only played 6 games plus preseason games. This was the first time he's actually been diagnosed with a concussion, but still, he's taking a hit to the head hard enough to be evaluated this many times in 6 games. I mean, we talked about it. It's not sustainable.
I think Brian Daboll was fired, in all honesty, for his failure to protect Jackson Dart because he was running the hell out of him, trying to save his own job, probably, to be honest with you, because he was effective when they were running Jackson Dart. But he gets fired. Add a name to the list, maybe, I think is all we're going to say. I don't know how much of a head coaching candidate he'll be, but he might be. It wouldn't shock me if he was. I think everyone with an offensive coordinator opening is going to have interest, so good luck to the Titans there. But ultimately, it'll depend with which coach he wants to pair with, right? If whose coattails he wants to ride kind of thing on the coaching search carousel. So, but be mindful of Brian Daboll. I don't think Brian Daboll's a bad coach. I'm not saying that he's top of my list for head coach, but I'm not going to be mad if they interview him, in all honesty. I don't think Brian Daboll's a bad coach. I think he might end up back in Buffalo. If Joe Brady gets a head coaching job, it's probably a no-brainer that he goes there. I also think it's within the realm of possibility that the Bills fire Joe Brady.
I was going to say, at this point in the season...
No one was talking about that, right? But that loss to the Dolphins, Joe Marino, my pal, ex-colleague at the Draft Network, he tweeted this morning, Joe is one of the most level-headed fans I know in the NFL. He doesn't overreact to anything. And he tweeted, bring him home. That's how frustrated Bills fans are, I think, with the offense and Joe Brady right now.
Bills fans hate Joe Brady at this current moment, and they've gone up and down with Joe Brady because he was a rising star like 3 weeks ago, right? But now they hate him because the offense has been struggling a little bit more. And we talked about this on Heed the Call last night. Actually, Connor Orr brought it up, who was on this podcast a few weeks ago. That like there's no real their offense feels very disjointed. There's no sense of identity or they don't have like a system. They're systemless because that's how they've developed under Josh Allen. And like, if they could bring back Brian Daboll, I think everyone would win there in terms of people in Buffalo. But I think Brian Daboll definitely becomes, to me, an offensive coordinator candidate more than a head coach candidate. I think like some of the decision-making struggle, like regardless of what you think of what he's done with Jackson Dart, the Giants have one of the best defensive lines in football, and they have blown 4 10-point fourth quarter leads on the road. Like, how is that even possible with the defensive front that they have? They should be able to close out games, and Brian Daboll has been unable to do that this season. Like he got
Shane Bowen as his defensive coordinator,
which is idiotic. I mean, I remember watching the Hard Knocks offseason thing when they brought
Shane Bowen. I don't hate
when
Shane
they
Bowen.
brought Shane Bowen in the offseason Hard Knocks documentary. I could tell that I could just tell he's not got it. I mean, he's sitting up there like, what's your ideal defense, Shane Bowen? He's like, we're going to have 4 guys that can get after the quarterback. It's like, oh, okay, so every single defensive coach
He probably doesn't want to say anything. I mean, no one likes...
Dream. Ask a Giants fan how they feel about Shane Bowen. How about that?
Ask every team in the league right now who's losing how they feel about their entire coaching staff. We're here talking about Brian Daboll as offensive coordinator. There's 37 Giants fans in East Rutherford right now saying he's the worst play caller they've ever seen in their life. Because that's what fans do when they lose. They just hate everyone, right?
Fair enough. I don't have any confidence that Shane Bowen is good. But hang on, one last thing. So the Giants, obviously, they fired Brian Daboll. They named Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator and the assistant head coach, interim head coach. I've been probably the biggest Kafka proponent of any human on the planet Earth because I don't know what it is about him. There's just something unquantifiable that makes me believe Mike Kafka is going to be a good head coach one day. Well, now we get to see it. We get to see the last, 8 weeks of the season here. Mike Kafka gets an audition as interim head coach. Yeah, unfortunately, he's auditioning for New York, and I could actually see a scenario where that's who they decide to hire for the continuity, for Jackson Dart's sake, for everything else. So that it's kind of a catch-22. If he sucks, then the Giants won't bring him back, and the Titans going to have a chance to interview him. If he sucks, I don't want the Titans to have a chance to interview him. If he's great, then the Giants might just keep him, and that's the only scenario where I'd want the Titans to interview him. So anyway, we'll get to see at least if I'm right or wrong about Mike Kafka's coaching abilities.
It is interesting, though. It's Daboll's a name worth adding to the list, especially as offensive coordinator. But you're right about the Kafka thing, because the Titans interviewed him before, right? And he's been a candidate elsewhere. So it will be interesting to evaluate what he does with this stint. That's going to do it, I think, for this episode of the Music City Audible. Let us know in the comments below. Do you want them to win? Do you want them to lose? How do you feel about them having the number 1 pick in the current, live order standings, whatever the proper words are that I just mumbled. But let us know what you think of them currently being scheduled to own the number 1 pick. Are you rooting for wins? Are you rooting for losses? We're really close to 50. I mean, really close. We're less than 100 subscribers away from 5,500. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. Send it to a friend. We should have said it earlier in the show, but if you're still here, you're a real one. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Above 5,400, trying to get to 55. We will be back tomorrow to talk about something related to the Tennessee Titans. I'm not quite sure what it is yet. Graver had an idea, I think. But I can guarantee we're going to talk about the Titans on Tuesday. Might throw you for a curveball. It will be Titans related if you weren't expecting that. You will tune in because you love Graver, you love me, you love supporting this show. Until we're talking about something Titans related tomorrow, because we are very prepared. Y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.